The world of finance. To the outsider, it can seem like a fortress. Towering skyscrapers of glass and steel. Insiders whisper of unimaginable wealth. Fortunes made and lost in the blink of an eye. But behind this facade of success and sophistication, a darker reality festers. This is the story of finance's underbelly. It's a world where greed reigns supreme, where ambition can morph into ruthlessness, and the pursuit of profit can lead to ruin. In this shadowy realm, fortunes aren't just made, they're stolen, gambled away, and vanish into thin air. From Wall Street boardrooms to shadowy online exchanges, the dark side of finance leaves a trail of devastation in its wake. This is a cautionary tale, a stark reminder that in the world of finance, not all that glitters is gold. Finance at its core is about promises. Promises of wealth, security, and a better future. Investors entrust their hard-earned money to financial institutions, hoping to see it grow and multiply. But what happens when those promises are broken? This is the inherent danger in finance, the delicate balance between risk and reward. When greed takes over, the system can spiral out of control. We've seen it time and again, from the tulip mania of the 17th century to the dot-com bubble of the late 90s. The allure of easy money can be intoxicating, blinding even the most seasoned investors to the warning signs. And when the bubble bursts, the consequences can be catastrophic. Lessons about the importance of regulation, transparency, and financial literacy can help prevent history from repeating itself. In the following chapters, we'll journey into the heart of some of the most notorious financial scandals and crashes in recent history. We'll dissect the intricate schemes, expose the flawed logic, and examine the human toll. From Ponzi schemes to the subprime mortgage crisis, we'll uncover the anatomy of financial disaster. We'll meet the key players, the masterminds, the greedy bankers, the regulators who failed to act, and the ordinary people who lost everything. Through their stories, we'll gain a deeper understanding of how these events unfolded and what could have been done to prevent them. We'll also explore the emerging world of cryptocurrency and decentralized finance, a landscape ripe with opportunity but also fraught with new and evolving risks. Understanding the dark side of finance is the first step towards creating a more stable and equitable financial future for all. In the murky depths of the financial world, few schemes are as insidious as the Ponzi scheme. Named after Charles Ponzi, these schemes prey on the desire for quick riches. They lure investors with promises of high returns, far exceeding legitimate markets. Early investors are paid from the money of later investors. The scheme relies on new recruits to sustain the illusion of success. As long as new money flows in, early investors are happy. But Ponzi schemes are built on lies and deceit. There are no real investments, no secret sauce. The organizers are master manipulators exploiting trust and greed. But like all pyramids, Ponzi schemes are inherently unstable. The year was 2008. The world watched in disbelief as the global financial system teetered on the brink of collapse. But amidst the chaos, a different kind of financial earthquake was about to strike. One that would expose the dark underbelly of Wall Street and shake the foundations of trust in the financial industry. This was the Madoff affair. Bernie Madoff, a former chairman of the Nasdaq Stock Exchange, a respected figure in the financial community, was running the largest Ponzi scheme in history. For decades, Madoff had been perpetrating his fraud, attracting billions of dollars from wealthy individuals, charities, and even other financial institutions. He offered steady, above-average returns year after year, regardless of market conditions. His investors, lulled into a false sense of security by his reputation and consistent returns, never questioned his methods. When the 2008 financial crisis hit, investors, desperate for cash, began to withdraw their money from Madoff's fund. Madoff's house of cards came crashing down, leaving behind a trail of financial ruin and shattered lives. The collapse of Madoff's scheme sent shockwaves throughout the financial world. How could such a massive fraud have gone undetected for so long? The answer, it turned out, was a toxic cocktail of greed, negligence, and regulatory failure. Madoff's investors, blinded by their desire for outsized returns, failed to conduct proper due diligence. They ignored red flags, such as the lack of transparency in Madoff's operations and the consistently smooth returns that defied market logic. They trusted in Madoff's reputation, believing that his success and connections shielded him from scrutiny. Regulators, tasked with protecting investors and maintaining the integrity of the financial system, also failed spectacularly. The Securities and Exchange Commission, despite receiving numerous tips and warnings about Madoff's activities over the years, never conducted a thorough investigation. The Madoff affair was a wake-up call, a stark reminder of the human cost of financial crime, and the urgent need for greater transparency, accountability, and regulatory oversight in the financial industry. The early 2000s. America was riding high, a booming economy, soaring stock market, and at the heart of it all, a seemingly unstoppable housing market. The American dream of homeownership felt within reach for millions. But this dream was built on shaky ground. Banks, eager to cash in on the housing frenzy, loosened their lending standards. Mortgages, once the domain of the creditworthy, were now being handed out like candy. Subprime mortgages, loans given to borrowers with poor credit and a high risk of default, flooded the market. These risky loans were then packaged together and sold off as complex financial instruments known as mortgage-backed securities. The housing market, fueled by cheap credit and speculative fervor, had become a bubble. As housing prices continued their relentless ascent, cracks began to appear. Borrowers, many of whom had taken out loans they couldn't afford, started to default. The dominoes were beginning to fall, foreclosures mounted, housing prices started to dip, and then the panic set in. Investors, realizing the true value of their mortgage-backed securities was far less than they had been led to believe, rushed to sell. Financial institutions, saddled with billions of dollars in toxic assets, teetered on the brink of collapse. The crisis, which began in the American housing market, quickly spread across the globe. The world held its breath, bracing for the worst. September 15, 2008. Lehman Brothers, a venerable investment bank with a 158-year history, filed for bankruptcy, the largest bankruptcy filing in U.S. history. It was the day the market froze. Panic turned to terror. The unthinkable had happened. The government, desperate to avert a complete meltdown of the financial system, stepped in with a massive bailout package. Billions of taxpayer dollars were pumped into failing banks and financial institutions. The bailout, while controversial, prevented a total collapse of the financial system, but the damage was done. The world had entered the Great Recession. In the aftermath of the crisis, the calls for reform grew louder. How could such a catastrophic failure have occurred? Who was to blame? Investigations revealed a systemic failure of epic proportions. Greedy bankers, lax regulators, and a culture of excessive risk-taking had created a perfect storm. The Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act, a sweeping piece of legislation aimed at preventing another crisis, was signed into law in 2010. But the question remained, had enough been done? Would the lessons of the 2008 financial crisis be heeded, or was the world doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past? It was a crisis that exposed the flaws not just in the system, but in ourselves. The financial landscape shifted once again. The rise of cryptocurrency, a digital form of money secured by cryptography, promised a decentralized and transparent alternative to traditional finance. Bitcoin, the first and most famous cryptocurrency, emerged from the ashes of the 2008 financial crisis, a testament to the growing distrust in centralized institutions. The allure of this new technology was undeniable. Decentralization, anonymity, and the potential for enormous returns drew in a wave of early adopters, tech enthusiasts and investors seeking to capitalize on the next big thing. Exchanges, platforms where users could buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrencies, sprung up like mushrooms after a rainstorm. But amidst the hype and excitement, a dark side lurked. Hacks, scams, and thefts became commonplace in this unregulated digital frontier, often with devastating consequences for unsuspecting investors. In the early days of Bitcoin, one exchange stood above the rest: Mt. Gox. Based in Tokyo, Mt. Gox handled over 70% of all Bitcoin transactions worldwide at its peak. It was the go-to platform for anyone looking to buy, sell, or trade Bitcoin. But behind the facade of success, a disaster of epic proportions was brewing. In February 2014, Mt. Gox abruptly halted all trading. Rumors swirled. Fear gripped the crypto community. Then came the announcement. Mt. Gox had lost 850,000 Bitcoins, worth over $450 million at the time, the largest Bitcoin heist in history. The news sent shockwaves through the cryptocurrency world. Bitcoin's price plunged. Investors panicked. Trust in the nascent industry evaporated overnight. The Mt. Gox hack exposed the vulnerabilities of a system built on anonymity and a lack of regulation. It was a stark reminder that in the world of cryptocurrency, security was paramount, and even the biggest players were not immune to attack. The Mt. Gox hack, while the largest of its kind, was not an isolated incident. Cryptocurrency exchanges, with their vast stores of digital wealth, became prime targets for hackers. These digital thieves, often highly skilled and organized, exploited vulnerabilities in exchange security systems to steal millions of dollars worth of cryptocurrency. Phishing scams, malware attacks, and exploiting weaknesses in exchange code were just some of the methods employed by these digital bandits. They targeted not only the exchanges themselves but also individual users, stealing their login credentials and draining their accounts. The decentralized nature of cryptocurrency made it difficult, if not impossible, to recover stolen funds. Law enforcement agencies struggled to keep up with the sophisticated techniques used by these cybercriminals. The Mt. Gox hack and the countless others that followed served as a wake-up call for the cryptocurrency industry. Trust once broken would be difficult to regain. The cryptocurrency world, for all its promise and potential, remains a volatile and risky landscape. While security measures have improved since the early days, hacks and scams are still prevalent. Investors, both large and small, must tread carefully in this digital frontier. Due diligence, thorough research, and a healthy dose of skepticism are essential for anyone venturing into the world of cryptocurrency. The story of cryptocurrency is still being written. The future of finance will be digital, decentralized, and forever intertwined with the lessons learned from the dark side of the financial world. Three stories, three financial earthquakes, each unique yet bound by a common thread. The thread of human fallibility, the insatiable hunger for easy money, the seductive whisper of this time it's different. Ponzi schemes, the 2008 crash, crypto heists. They reveal a stark truth. Whether it's a slick con man, a deregulated market, or the shadowy corners of the internet, the dark side of finance thrives on exploitation. It preys on ignorance, on trust, on the very human desire for a better future. But these stories also offer a glimmer of hope, because with every collapse, with every shattered dream, comes a chance to learn, to adapt, to build a more resilient system. The patterns are there, etched in the wreckage of financial history. Recognize them, understand them, and maybe, just maybe, we can break the cycle. The fight against financial darkness is never truly over. It requires vigilance, a constant questioning of the status quo. It demands accountability, from individuals and institutions alike. Education is our strongest weapon. By arming ourselves with financial literacy, we can become savvier investors, less susceptible to the siren song of get-rich-quick schemes. We can demand transparency from the institutions entrusted with our money. Regulation, while often demonized, acts as a crucial safeguard. It sets boundaries, enforces ethical conduct, and helps prevent the excesses that lead to systemic collapse. But regulation without enforcement is meaningless. We must hold our elected officials accountable, ensuring they act in the best interest of the people, not the whispers of lobbyists or the allure of campaign contributions. The world of finance, for all its complexities, is ultimately a human endeavor. It reflects our aspirations, our flaws, and our capacity for both great good and great harm. We've witnessed the devastating consequences of unchecked greed and the human toll of financial recklessness. But this is not a tale of despair, it's a call to action. The fight for a fairer, more transparent financial system is ongoing. It demands vigilance, a willingness to question, and to hold those in power accountable. Our financial well-being depends on active, informed engagement. Financial literacy is not a luxury, it's a necessity. By understanding finance, we can make informed decisions and demand better from institutions. We must engage in open dialogue, challenge the status quo, and advocate for policies that promote stability and fairness. The road ahead may be long, but by learning from past mistakes and embracing transparency, we can create a more equitable financial future. The power to shape that future rests not solely with Wall Street titans or government regulators, but with each and every one of us.